Hello everyone, this is part 5 of What If Naruto Made the Ultimate Sacrifice, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Sakura walked into the Godime's office with a stack of papers. The Chunin exams were beginning tomorrow and all the applicants' details needed to be checked and approved. It had been over a week since her date with Naruto and she hadn't seen the genin since. The fact that he had left her there without an explanation hurt her deeply. She constantly tried to think of something else, but her mind kept drifting back to that day. Walking forward, she placed the stack of papers on the desk of the Hokage. These are all the papers they gave me, Shisu. The medic Nin was returning from the academy, having gone there by request of the Hokage. Team 7 had no missions for the day, however Sakura found herself participating in anything possible to help take her mind off Naruto. Tsunade looked at the large stack of papers before her forehead. I always hate doing this. The busty blonde pulled the stack of papers towards her and began to look through them. She sighed as she checked the details of the first applicant to make sure everything was in order. She was interrupted as Sakura spoke. Shisu, is there anything else I can do? The Hokage put her chin on her folded hands as she observed her apprentice. She knew that her date with the Jinchuriki had not gone well. Originally, when she noticed her somber mood, she assumed Naruto had told her. She was soon proven wrong, discovering that Naruto had rejected Sakura without providing any explanation as to why. The significant impact on the pink-haired girl was visible even if she tried to hide it. Sakura constantly overworked herself and would now always request missions or some form of assignment to keep herself occupied. Leaning backwards in her chair, Tsunade replied, I think you should get some rest. Sakura was surprised by the answer, I'm not tired yet. Tsunade shook her head. Sakura, she made sure she was careful in how she approached the younger ninja. You haven't taken a break for over a week now. Sakura laughed half-heartedly. That's because I don't need one. When I do, I'll take it. Tsunade felt sorry for the girl. Sighing, she decided to give her advice. Even if you try to keep yourself busy, once it's over the thoughts always come back. Sakura looked away from her mentor. I don't understand what you're trying to say. Sakura, she looked at the medic who continued staring at the floor with a downcast expression. Talk to him. Tsunade noticed the pain that flashed through her student's eyes as she spoke. He said no. There's nothing to really talk about. He's probably hurting as much as you are. The Godime hoped her words would have some effect. You said yourself that he didn't tell you why. That means there's a reason. Make him tell you. Sakura listened attentively to the Hokage. Her feelings were haywire as she still felt for Naruto, but at the same time her heart had been broken. Maybe he doesn't feel the same way anymore. Tsunade used all her willpower to not tell Sakura the truth. She knew that it wasn't her place. If that was really true, he wouldn't have gone on the date in the first place. Sakura folded her arms. What makes you so sure? Tsunade began to sweat at the suddenness of the question. She avoided it by asking one of her own. Why have you given up? Sakura felt guilty at the words the Hokage spoke. I haven't given up. Her voice displayed her uncertainty. Tsunade smirked, knowing that Sakura had fell for her trap. Then prove it. Confront him about your feelings. XXXXXXXXXX. Naruto tapped his foot impatiently, waiting for his mentor to arrive. His arms were folded across his chest as his eye twitched out of irritation. The past week had passed really quickly as he trained extremely hard to get ready for his match with Jiraiya. He had a proud aura surrounding him as he had finally completed each of the element scrolls he had received from the perverted hermit. Nonetheless, as successful as part of his training had been, he had failed in progressing with the Hiraishin no Jutsu. This was causing him to worry as he wanted to learn the legendary technique as quickly as he could, since he wasn't sure of when the Akatsuki could attack. Even though it was most probable they would wait until the finals of the Chunin exams, they could just as easily decide to come earlier. Silently, he was hoping they wouldn't arrive yet as he was planning to exclusively concentrate on the difficult technique over the next month. His Kenjutsu training had been progressing at a rapid rate and he found himself able to stay on par with Sasuke in his spars. The Uchiha was pushing Naruto to his limits, but the blonde was also worried about the inquiring eyes his friend had shown him at their last encounter. He was sure the black-haired teenager was getting increasingly suspicious of him. Snapping out of his thoughts, he felt the familiar presence of his perverted mentor approaching him. About time. Jiraiya landed a few feet away from his protégé, quickly straightening from his bent-down position. Naruto felt his anger rise before it exploded from out his throat. What took you so long, Ero Sennin? Jiraiya waved his hands in front of him. Calm down, Naruto. I would have been on time, but I got distracted with something important. He started giggling. Naruto shook his head out of frustration, knowing full well that he meant he was peeping at the bathhouse and lost track of time. It doesn't matter. Let's begin already. Jiraiya smiled inwardly at the Jinchuriki's eagerness. You're certainly excited, aren't you? Naruto grinned as a confirmation towards his opponent. He had been anticipating this battle for a long and tiring 6 days, training twice as hard. This was the moment he would understand how far his training had brought him. Jiraiya was the measuring stick for him to compare his growth to. He knew that the Sannin was around the level of the Akatsuki, so he needed to be able to defeat him in order to stand a realistic chance against the formidable organization. He readied himself as a tingling sensation went throughout his body, filling him with exhilaration. Jiraiya continued staring into the eyes of the younger ninja, not daring to divert his attention. He knew that the SEAL training would have propelled his speed to higher level than his own, and his advantage in this battle would be his extensive knowledge and experience. The wind blew slowly, ruffling the hair of the two ninja. The entire training ground was in complete silence, only the sounds of nature protruding through the intense atmosphere. A few decaying leaf blew past Naruto's eyes as he made his move. Instantly the blonde vanished from his position. Jiraiya, noticing his highly rapid movement, brought his right arm up to the side of his head, blocking Naruto's punch as it impacted against him. A smirk was across the genin's face as he quickly turned, attempting to deliver a kick to the other side of Jiraiya's temple. Anticipating the move, the Sannin ducked underneath before sending his right leg towards Naruto, sweeping him off his feet. He tried to follow with a palm strike to the young ninja's chin, but Naruto quickly positioned his hand underneath him, flipping away from the upcoming attack, landing a few feet away from his opponent. Naruto once again launched himself at his mentor, throwing another punch. Jiraiya caught the strike in the palm of his hand before blocking the following kick to his leg. Naruto smiled, which caused the Sannin to become surprised as he realized another hand speeding towards his face from the side, connecting hard. Jiraiya stopped himself from falling on his back as he flipped to an upright position in midair. Landing on the hard ground, he gave a smirk as he saw two Narutos staring back at him. Impressive. When I caught his hand, he distracted me with the following kick. He must have created the clone with his free hand. But if he can do one-handed seals, I should be more careful. Naruto and his clone maneuvered themselves so they were on each side of the Sannin. Jiraiya stood cautiously with one eye on each of them. The shadow clone ran forward, throwing a kunai, which Jiraiya dodged by moving his head. He stopped a few feet from Jiraiya before jumping to the side. Futon Daitopper. Jiraiya's eyes widened as he heard the real Naruto yell. Turning around as quickly as possible, he put his hands in a guard position, blocking the damage of the technique. However, the incoming gust of wind blew him off his feet as he flew backwards. The shadow clone jumped towards Jiraiya as he passed him, aiming a kick at his face. Jiraiya grabbed the clone's ankle in midair and turned to plant his elbow in its stomach, dispelling it. Landing on his feet, he realized Naruto was nowhere to be seen. He quickly looked around, trying to locate him with his keen eyes. Doton Shinju Zanshu no Justu. A pair of hands grabbed Jiraiya's ankles as they emerged from the ground below. Quickly forming seals, the Sannin yelled, Doton Dido Subirioriru. The ground underneath Jiraiya turned into mud, moving forwards at a rapid pace. The Sannin jumped out of harm's way when he felt Naruto's hands loosen around his ankle. He heard a familiar poof as he realized the Naruto in his earth technique was a clone. He must have had a clone there all along, waiting for me. Not bad, you're thinking ahead. Turning around, he caught Naruto's punch, which had been aimed at his head. But you have to do better in order to beat me. Quickly forming a firm grasp around his student's arm, he threw him in the direction of the waterfall. Naruto drifted through the air before he flipped, landing on top of the plunge pool. He looked towards Jiraiya with a smirk. So you figured it out, huh? Jiraiya replied, "Of course, I am one of the legendary Sannin after all. You didn't create one clone but two. One of them hid while you and the other one lured me to where he was." Naruto scratched the back of his head laughing before adopting a more staid demeanor. "Time to get serious." Jiraiya nodded as he began to run. Naruto awaited the perverted hermit as he approached. The Sannin ran across the water throwing a palm strike to the genin's chest. Naruto blocked it and sent his own fist soaring towards the older shinobi. Jiraiya turned avoiding it and drove his right foot into Naruto's stomach sending him flying backwards through the waterfall. The Sannin jumped backwards onto the land as he waited defensively knowing that the Jinchuriki was far from finished, especially since he had only received one blow. Suddenly 5 Narutos jumped out from behind the tremendous waterfall shouting, "Kaiten Gokaku no Jutsu." The 5 blazing fireballs approached the Sannin as he formed seals within seconds. Doten Doroku Geishi, Jiraiya struck his hands on the hard ground raising a large wall made of earth to protect him from the incoming fireballs. He placed both his hands onto the wall reinforcing its structure with chakra to make sure it could withstand the force of the fireballs. The balls of fire connected with a resounding impact but not being able to break through the defense. Jiraiya began to sweat as he felt the heat but quickly shifted his head to the side as a fist flew past him into the wall made of earth. Naruto, having missed with his initial attack, raised his knee striking the older man in the back. He continued with a punch to the side of his face and a kick to the back of his leg, sending the Sannin to the ground, followed by a stiff elbow which drove Jiraiya's face into the tough wall made of earth. Naruto attacked again with another fast punch but his hand met rock as he felt a jolt of pain run through his knuckles. Kawarimi. Quickly regaining his footing, he felt a sour taste in his own mouth. Jiraiya stood alert, aware of the fact that there were still 5 clones hiding somewhere. He used his clones to attack me, remaining behind the waterfall himself. When I defended myself, he capitalized on the distraction to sneak behind me. His skill with his clones is amazing. Jiraiya's attention was directly attracted towards Naruto as he slowly reached into his pouch. The Sannin's eyes widened in disbelief when he saw the Kyuubi vessel draw a 3-pronged kunai along with a special seal tied around it. He's already learnt it, this quick, which means he may have put the seal on me. No, he couldn't have, or else he would have used the opportunity by now. Jiraiya keenly observed his student as he knew that it was near enough impossible to stop from being fatally attacked when that technique was used. He was going to rely on his instincts as he readied himself. Naruto threw the kunai at his mentor before launching himself into the air. Shock flowed through Jiraiya as there was no flash and the kunai flew past him. He realized he had been tricked as a cry filled the air, Suten Teppadama. Naruto shot a ball of water from his mouth towards Jiraiya. The Sannin rolled to his left avoiding the incoming attack before being kicked from behind by a reappearing clone of Naruto. He went flying forwards as he met Inu sending him into the air. 2 more clones jumped at him from each side attempting to drive their feet into his stomach and back at the same time. Jiraiya twisting slightly avoided the attack as the clones hit each other ending up destroyed. He took out 2 shuriken, swiftly throwing them at the other 2 clones on the ground and hitting them. "You forgot about me." Jiraiya turned to see the final clone approaching from on top, performing a spinning axe kick into his back increasing his rate of descent. Coming within a few feet of the hard surface, Jiraiya was stopped from contact as the real Naruto rushed forward somersault kicking him in the face making him spin. Pain rushed through the frog hermit's face as he released another shuriken from his hand in mid-spin straight towards the clone which was descending from the air, destroying him. Recovering from the well-arranged attack, Jiraiya quickly moved back placing some distance between himself and his student. Naruto stared at his mentor as he regained his stance. "He's really good. So far it's been equal, but somehow I have to win this." The wind blew roughly past both the shinobi as they once again charged one another. They exchanged numerous blows as Naruto connected with the first attack. He stopped guarding them resorting to dodging instead since his arms were beginning to ache. Naruto grinned as he saw the Sannin drop his guard and begin to dodge. The seal training had improved his power as well as his speed. The Uzumaki knew that the older ninja wouldn't be able to dodge for too long due to his speed. Surely enough, after dodging the first 6 punches, Jiraiya was caught with a hard strike to his jaw reeling him a little. Naruto continued the landing several blows into his mentor's stomach and face before finishing the combination with powerful kick. Jiraiya was sent rolling across the floor. The Sannin got back to his feet staring back at the younger ninja. He's got too much stamina. I have to end this now. Naruto ran towards Jiraiya as quickly as he could, but his eyes widened as he saw Jiraiya perform hand seals. Doton Yomi Numa. A large wave of muddy water rose from all angles as it neared to swallow up Naruto. Naruto quickly formed his own hand seals, Arakurukas. Throwing his hands out, a rampant wind circled him before exploding in all directions to stop the wave of water from engulfing him. It was an amazing sight as the wind blew down the rising water away from him, submerging the entire training grounds. Jiraiya jumped out of the way as the water crashed down, eventually calming. Looking back in the direction of Naruto, he saw him standing with a grin across his face, unscathed from the Sannin's technique. Jiraiya raised his hand when he saw Naruto preparing to attack again. That's enough. The Jinchuriki had to stop himself from falling over. Nani? Why? Jiraiya shook his head at Naruto. This was a test to see how far you have come. I can make a clear assessment of your skills now. There's no need to continue. Naruto scratched the back of his head. But I thought we'd fight until there was a winner. Jiraiya raised his fist as he shouted, Barker. Have you forgotten that you're meant to let your muscles rest once a week? Don't overexert yourself. Naruto laughed nervously at his lack of insight. Gomen, I guess I got a little too excited. Looking around, his mouth fell open when he saw the state of his training ground. Ah, look what you did, Ero Sennin. Jiraiya looked at the surrounding environment, which was covered in muddy water, ruining the trees and other vegetation. He reddened and began to wave his hands. I'm sure it'll be fine after a day or two. Naruto glared at his mentor. Where am I going to train now? This was the perfect spot. I can't train in Konoha. This is because of you, Ero Sennin. He fell to his knees before mumbling to himself about perverted hermits. Jiraiya frowned, thinking of how he could change the subject. His mind lit up. Come on. Stop crying and I'll treat you to some ramen. Naruto rose to his feet, pointing a finger at the frog hermit. I'm not crying, ramen. He started laughing before running past his mentor. Jiraiya inwardly smiled that his plan had worked. Naruto looked back at the perverted shinobi. You're paying though. Naruto continued running, heading for his favorite ramen stand. Jiraiya glowered. Maybe this wasn't such a good idea. He followed the hyperactive ninja. XXXXXXXXXXX. Sasuke stood leaning against a wall outside one of Konoha's many restaurants. His eyes were closed and his arms folded. He could hear the people walking past him, engaged in their own business. Opening his eyes, he saw the person he had been waiting for to arrive. Yo! Kakashi held his Ica Ica Paradise book in one hand, waving with the other. He looked at the restaurant Sasuke was standing outside. I thought you didn't like natto and sweets. Sasuke ignored his upbeat demeanor, standing straight. I don't. We need to talk. Both shinobis began to walk away from the open restaurant. Kakashi, reading his precious book, turned a page as he spoke. About what? Sasuke stopped. His hands were in his pockets as he looked at the Junin. About Naruto. Naruto viciously ate his bowl of miso ramen, much to the disdain and disgust of his mentor, who was trying his hardest to avoid being sprayed by bits of food. Take it easy, Naruto. The Jinchuriki looked up from his eating endeavor with noodles dangling from his mouth. Swallowing them, he turned to his teacher. I am taking it easy. I've only ate 4 bowls so far. Jiraiya s his head at the lack of understanding shown by the leaf nin. Never mind. The Sannin began to stare at the ramen chef's daughter with his prying eyes as she worked. Naruto, finishing his bowl of ramen, put his chopsticks down and ordered another bowl. Hey, Ero Sennin. Ayami's ears twitched when she heard Naruto utter the peculiar words. Jiraiya, noticing the change in mood, his hand over the unsuspecting Genin's mouth, preventing him from speaking further. He leaned in to whisper to him, Ero Sennin, Ero Sennin. How many times have I told you not to call me that in public? You're going to get me in trouble and ruin my reputation. Naruto removed the older ninja's hand of his mouth. People deserve to know the truth. He paused for a moment. And what reputation? Jiraiya, ignoring his words, looked at Ayami, who was staring at him. Hey, don't mind us. You continue with your work. He chuckled nervously. Naruto took off his jacket and placed it on the stool next to him, leaving him in a black t-shirt. He looked on as Ayami began to prepare his next bowl of ramen. Having satisfied the majority of his hunger, he decided to talk to Jiraiya. So, how far have I come? Jiraiya folded his arms and closed his eyes, effectively entering his lecture mode. Well, you were near enough at my level. Naruto began to laugh, punching his fist in the air. He was extremely happy with the words the legendary Sannin had spoken. He was broken from his celebrating when the frog hermit continued. But, Naruto turned to look at the author of the Ica Ica Paradise series. But what? He awaited his answer anxiously. There are still a few things you have to improve on. Your manipulation of the elements you used was quite good. Nonetheless, the techniques aren't as effective as they could be. Jiraiya nodded his head in a knowing manner. Naruto scratched the back of his head. I don't understand. What's wrong with them? When your clones used the Kaiten Gokaku no Jutsu, it wasn't as powerful as it should have been. The defense I raised should have realistically crumbled before 5 attacks of that caliber, even if I did reinforce the wall with my chakra. Naruto understood what the hermit was implying, so I need to practice them more. Jiraiya had a smile across his face. Hi, practice makes perfect. It's quite obvious that you don't need to train with the futon techniques since you've mastered that element. However, for the others, keep performing the techniques and your ear of them will improve. Naruto had a determined look across his face. I'll make sure that I know them to the best of my ability. Jiraiya rested his arms on the counter. How are you doing with the Hiraishin no Jutsu? Jiraiya recognized the change in demeanor of the blonde upon his question. He took the silence as a sign that he wasn't doing very well. Deciding to motivate him a little, he talked. Don't worry too much about it. You've got a whole month ahead of you to learn it. If this training raised you from the level of Kakashi to my own in such a short time, then there is no doubt in my mind that you'll be ready to take on Akatsuki by the time they arrive. Naruto smiled, hearing the shinobi's words, I won't fail. Jiraiya was proud of Naruto's determination and resolve, but gave him a final piece of advice. Remember one important thing, Naruto. Power doesn't always determine the victor in battle. The location of where you are fighting as well as your understanding and experience can determine who has the advantage. The Akatsuki has a lot more experience in battle situations than you, but you have determination as well as the heart to never give up. Let them be your driving force. The Jinchuriki nodded before answering, yeah. Ayami placed Naruto's bowl of ramen in front of him, giving a smile. Naruto picked up his chopsticks to begin eating but was interrupted by a recognizable voice. Why didn't I come here in the first place? Naruto turned to see the Hokage of Konoha staring down at him. Tsunade Barkan. Tsunade picked up the ninja's jacket and sat on the stool. Naruto began to eat his ramen at a speed only capable of him and the clan of the Akamaikas. Tsunade observed the two shinobi's dirty clothes. What have you been doing? Naruto stopped eating his ramen to answer, I fought Ero Sennin. Tsunade had to stop herself from falling off the stool. What do you mean fought? Jiraiya introduced himself into the conversation to make sure there wasn't a misunderstanding. He means I tested him on his abilities. Tsunade raised her eyebrows. And how did he do? Naruto finished his ramen, pointing his chopsticks in the face of the godai, making her lean back in order to not get poked in the eye. I'm at the level of a Sannin now. Tsunade quickly him across his head. Barker. You nearly took my eye out. Naruto rubbed his head, which had been hit more times than he could remember. Gomen. Jiraiya, interrupting the little scene created by the two blondes, spoke, why are you here? Tsunade folded Naruto's jacket, placing it on her lap. I'm here to talk to Naruto. Naruto had a confused expression. You are? Why? Tsunade cleared her throat, knowing of the sensitive topic she was bringing up. I wanted to talk to you about Sakura. Realization dawned on Naruto. Oh. You're breaking her heart, Naruto. She could see the pain in the Genin's eyes. Naruto sighed. This is for the best. Tsunade continued. I understand your reasoning, but she doesn't know why you're doing this. Tell her and let her make her own decision. Naruto stared at the dull counter in front of him, contemplating and dwelling on his thoughts. Tsunade's voice turned soft like that of a caring mother. I know you don't want to hurt her, but she's hurting right now, and she'll continue hurting until you tell her. Naruto got up from his seat. I need time to think. He reached for the jacket in Tsunade's lap with his left arm. However, the gambling addict noticed the peculiar seal on his left forearm and grabbed his arm before he could pull away. She inspected the pattern. She had never seen anything like it before. What's this? Naruto pulled his hand back and began to laugh loudly. The legendary sucker stared at him unaware of what was so funny. Naruto turned to Jiraiya, still laughing, to see the super pervert looking at him awkwardly. Coughing slightly, he raised a finger as if to explain. Waiting a few moments, he ran out of the ramen stand. Soon it quickly shouted behind him, "Oi, Naruto." She glared at Jiraiya, daring him to make a similar move. Explain. Jiraiya began to sweat. First, you're going to want something to drink. Ordering some sake, he picked up 2 cups and gave one to the Hokage. Barker, Naruto. Why do you always leave me in these situations? XXXXXXXXXXX. Sasuke was sitting on the wooden pier he had always come to when he was a child to find solace. The sun was setting, leaving a tinge of red in the sky, and the clear lake, in front of him, was making soft soothing sounds as it calmly moved. The Uchiha rested his elbows on his thighs whilst his legs hanged off the end. He reflected over what he had been told by Kakashi. Letting his mind drift back to thoughts of this morning, he closed his eyes. Flashback. Sasuke and Kakashi had ended up at their team's meeting place. The Uchiha went to lean against the railing as he waited for an answer from the Junin. Kakashi pocketed his precious orange book, adopting a more serious tone. Why do you think there is something wrong with Naruto? Sasuke sighed as Kakashi didn't directly answer his question, opting instead to ask one of his own, his recent behavior. Not to mention what happened between him and Sakura, he would never hurt her, so this makes me think he had a significant reason to do so. Is that good enough? Kakashi had a smirk underneath his mask, very perceptive. But why do you think I know the reason? Sasuke folded his arms. At the party, after his dance, I saw you two talking on the balcony. I also noted how, for a period of time after that, you seemed disturbed. Kakashi looked at the Uchiha, amazed by the fact that he had been observing him so much. It would be best if you asked Naruto for yourself. Sasuke closed his eyes. I would, but it's near enough impossible to find him. Kakashi turned away from his student, staring across the river. Sighing, he decided to answer the persistent Uchiha. When he fought the resurrected Yondaime, you saw his transformation. Sasuke opened his eyes, absorbing the information. Yeah. The Kyuubi's chakra is something which can't be controlled. It is toxic by nature and damages Naruto every time he uses it. Kakashi put his hands on the railing, pausing for a few moments. Sasuke looked at the Junin's back, trying to figure out where he could be heading with this. His attention returned to Kakashi as he spoke again. Out of desperation, he used too much of the Kyuubi's chakra, 2/3 to be exact if the number of tails was an indication. You saw the shroud surrounding his body, but there is also chakra rushing inside of him at the same time. He has no control when in such a state and will remain in it until his body can't take it anymore or if someone stops him. Out of all the people there, Jiraiya-sama was the only one who was capable of calming him, but he was too busy with Orochimaru at the time. You saw his state after the battle. Sasuke stood straight as he addressed the ex-Anbu. What does this have to do with anything? Hokage-sama cured him right after. Kakashi turned to face the Uchiha, the sorrow showing in his exposed eye. No, Sasuke, she just delayed the inevitable. End flashback. Sasuke opened his eyes as the memorable pain of loss entered his heart. These past few weeks, he was slowly getting accustomed to being back in Konoha. He knew that things would never return to normal as they had been in the past because of his betrayal. Nonetheless, he still had the trust of his friends. He looked across the lake, remembering his blonde companion. He couldn't understand how this could have happened. His remaining hope for things to turn out well had crumbled upon hearing of his coming death. He felt the familiar feeling of loneliness once again creep up on him and leave him broken. He couldn't explain it, but the torturing pain of losing his family once again clouded his senses as he felt his heart aching. His mind was drawn back to his encounter with the Jinchuriki at the Valley of the End. He had released his frustration when Naruto had tried to change his mind about leaving. What do you know about me, with no siblings and parents? You were alone from the start. What the hell do you know? Remembering the words he had said to the genin made him feel a wave of regret and guilt rush over him. He felt a watery substance cloud his vision as he attempted to hold it from escaping. The Jinchuriki's reply invaded his thoughts. It's true that I don't know anything about parents or siblings, but, when I'm with Iruka-sensei, I wonder if this is what it's like having a dad. Sasuke looked at the sparkling water below him, not seeing his own reflection but the face of Naruto from 3 years prior. He stared, taken aback at the image. The normally blue eyes were replaced with a fierce crimson color as they stared back. But behind them was the pain of solitude and sorrow. His hands moved to the side of the wooden pier supporting him as he leaned forward looking into the eyes of his friend. And when I'm with you, if this is what it's like having a brother. Sasuke gritted his teeth as his grip around the pier tightened, his nails digging into the wood. His vision was completely obscured as he let 2 tears fall from his eyes to the water below. He saw the cheerless face of his friend disappear as the droplets of grief landed in his crimson eyes, sending a ripple through the water. Letting go of his emotions, his arms shook as he fully understood what was going to happen. Realizing that if he hadn't gone to Orochimaru this wouldn't have happened, he felt angry with himself. Naruto had sacrificed his life just to bring him back from darkness. Rising from his position, he headed off to confront the dying ninja. XXXXXXXXXXX. Sakura walked up the stairs which led to Naruto's apartment. The sun had set, leaving the night sky as well as the bright stars. She had decided to talk with the Leaf Nin and tell him how she felt. Thinking about her mentor's words throughout the morning, she realized the best course of action would be to talk to the hyperactive ninja. Reaching the top, she walked forward towards his apartment door. There was no light from the inside as far as she could tell. She knocked on the door awaiting a response. Nobody answered and she knew that he wasn't home at the moment. She didn't know what to do. It had taken her all her courage to come here and talk to him, but there was no one here. Knowing that it would be a mistake if she left now, she decided to wait for his arrival since he had to come home sooner or later. XXXXXXXXXX. Naruto whistled as he walked with his hands folded across the back of his head. He looked around and found himself at Team 7's meeting place. He walked onto the bridge as the night sky covered the area in darkness, the only light being given from the glittering stars shining elegantly. He reached the middle of the bridge looking over the rail into the water below. It was quite dark, but he could make the outlines of the fish swimming in the shallow river. He let a smile dawn his face as he enjoyed the undisturbed atmosphere. His attention was aroused as he felt a presence. Turning, his eyes landed on the figure of his friend, Sasuke. He looked at the usually unperturbed ninja who seemed different. Glancing at his eyes, he saw the disturbance behind them. Walking forwards a little, he spoke, "Are you Auri?" He was stopped from finishing as the Sharingan wielder charged forwards, throwing a punch at his face. Naruto saw the strike approaching but made no attempt at blocking it, taking the hard hit head on. He fell on his back at the force of the blow, leaving him staring at the stars above. Sasuke looked at his blonde friend as he calmly lay on his back. "Were you even going to tell me?" Naruto realized that the Uchiha knew. He closed his eyes as he thought of an appropriate response. "We suffer because of our bonds." Sasuke stepped back upon hearing his words, since that was the exact thing he had said to the Jinchuriki when they fought at the Valley of the End. Sasuke shook his head. "You were planning on dying, without even letting me know." Naruto opened his eyes as he sat up. He brought one of his knees towards himself as he rested his arm on it. "Yeah." Sasuke gritted his teeth, feeling desolate inside. "Why?" Naruto looked towards the floor of the bridge they were situated on. "You were right." Sasuke looked at the sitting shinobi. "Right." Naruto continued in a calm voice. "At that time, I didn't know what it felt like to lose someone, but after, I understood." He was talking about their encounter at the Valley of the End. Sasuke realized what the genin was saying as he remembered his words from a few weeks ago. "When you left, so did a part of me." Naruto raised his face to look at the black-haired teenager, the tears suppressed within his eyes and his voice broken. "The pain of being alone hurts, but the pain of losing someone, slowly you inside." The tears fell from his whisked visage onto the floor. "That's what it felt like, didn't it, Sasuke, when you lost your family?" Sasuke tore away his face from looking at Naruto, now fully understanding how Naruto felt when he had left. He couldn't handle seeing the sorrow within his eyes. His own tears trickled down his face before he spoke. "Is this why you were willing to sacrifice yourself, just to save me?" Naruto had a heart-warming smile across his face as he stared at the Uchiha's downcast form. "Everyone deserves some peace, a break from the darkness, an embrace from the light." Sasuke looked at his friend, his hair no longer covering his mourning face as the unforgiving wave of sorrow crept up his back. So you sacrificed your own happiness, to bring me peace. He felt anger build within him. You think that's right? You think I deserved that? He stared at the unresponsive form of his friend. Answer me, Naruto. Naruto kept on smiling as he looked at the panting Uchiha. The people who suffer, they all deserve a chance for contentment. Sasuke looked on disbelievingly. What about your happiness, Naruto? Naruto's eyes showed distress but followed also. A good Hokage puts the benefit of his people before himself, but a great Hokage puts the benefits of everyone before himself. I find happiness in knowing I haven't failed those who needed me. Sasuke fell back onto the wood below him. He couldn't believe what was happening. The same pain and heartache from the day he lost his family threatened to choke him. Speaking in a wrecked voice, he asked the shinobi a simple question: how long? Naruto gave a poignant sigh. 6 or 7 months, a year if I get lucky. Sasuke punched the floor, causing it to break a little. Why? The Kyuubi should have enough chakra to keep you alive longer than that. Naruto looked at the stars as they sparkled. He has enough chakra to keep me alive for over 100 years. The Sharingan wielder spoke in a penitent tone. How do you have so little time left then? Naruto closed his eyes, inhaling the scent of the air. His chakra is toxic. Right now it's surrounding all the chakra coils in my body, keeping them in one piece. The only problem is that my coils haven't developed to take his chakra at a continuous rate. Having him give me a small amount of chakra constantly over a long period of time is the same as him giving me a lot of chakra at once. It'll damage me. Eventually his chakra will begin to do the opposite of what it's doing now. Naruto rose from his position and rubbed his jaw. He walked past the Uchiha before looking back with a genuine smile across his countenance. You've got another chance, a new beginning, make the most of it. Sasuke looked at the disappearing form of his friend. His eyes dropped to the ground. Yeah, but it came at a cost. Tsunade put down her cup of sake and began to rub her forehead. She wasn't pleased with what she had been told by her ex-teammate, but was also, at the same time, apprehensive of how such a thing could have happened. I don't understand this. Jiraiya moved the cup in his hand, slowly sending the sake inside, spiraling before gulping it down. Refilling his empty cup, he spoke. The first time Naruto told me about it, I found it hard to believe as well. Tsunade sighed, speaking in a low voice so only Jiraiya would hear. Are you sure the Kyuubi didn't ask for anything? Jiraiya had a serious demeanor as he spoke calmly. From what Naruto told me, he readily agreed. The two Sannin sat quietly watching the old man and his daughter clean up. There were no other customers apart from them. The sun had disappeared a long time ago. Time seemed to be still for the Hokage as she contemplated the new piece of information she had received. The Godime broke the silence. The seal is weakening, which means the fox has been busy trying to escape. Jiraiya nodded at the woman's words before she continued, but then he agrees to something like this. Naruto must have done something incredible to persuade him. Jiraiya put down his cup of sake, shaking his head. No, he didn't do anything. Kyuubi is a proud demon and he can't be convinced, particularly by the kind that he loathes. Naruto told me of his threats. He would destroy us the first chance he got. Jiraiya stared at the counter intently. He knows something. Tsunade stared at the white-haired hermit upon his last statement. What makes you say that? Jiraiya spoke in a serious tone. From what we know of the Kyuubi, he wouldn't ever do something like this, especially if he was close to escaping. If Naruto said as he's been forced to stop attempting to weaken the seal even more than it already is because of the state Naruto is in. His pact with Naruto was forged long before the battle with Orochimaru. He has an idea of what could happen. Tsunade felt the hair on the back of her neck rise up, leaving her with a feeling of dread. This is bad. She sighed, finishing another cup of sake. Jiraiya ran his hand through his long hair. Yeah, and the one who may have an idea of what's going on would never tell us. XXXXXXXXXX. Naruto slowly walked up the stairs to his apartment, his encounter with Sasuke fresh on his mind. He felt guilty about not telling the Uchiha and letting him find out elsewhere. He let the calm wind ruffle his hair, enjoying its cooling presence. Reaching the top, he walked forwards only to stop in his tracks when he saw familiar emerald eyes looking in his direction. Sakura-chan. He looked at the medic Nin, who quickly faced towards the ground. Sakura had been waiting for over an hour for the blonde to arrive and was glad that he finally came, but she felt her courage slip from her when she faced him. She was confused, not knowing how to exactly respond. Naruto, noting her somber mood, knew that it was his fault. I owe you an explanation. Sakura looked at the genin, relieved that he had made the first move since she felt a little awkward. I needed to say something as well. Naruto scratched the back of his head, not entirely sure of how to begin. This was the moment he would have to reveal his condition to her. He couldn't let her find out the same way Sasuke did. He stumbled for words as he felt the wind pick up, blowing past him roughly. Sakura felt a cold shudder flow through her as the air around her dropped in temperature. Naruto, noticing her reaction to the weather as well as the fact that they were still outside, reddened from embarrassment. Maybe we should go inside. He walked towards his apartment door, opening it, and led the pink-haired medic inside. Sakura felt grateful as she entered the relatively small abode, letting the warmth encase her body. Naruto closed the door behind them before walking in the direction of his kitchen. Sakura followed the Jinchuriki and took a seat at the small table. Naruto poured himself some water. Turning, he looked at Sakura, who had her attention strictly on him. Would you like some? Sakura nodded, letting a smile appear across her face. Hi. Naruto felt a pleasing sensation run through him at seeing the kunoichi's smile. His whisked face adopted a smile of its own, which he quickly removed due to what he was planning on telling her. Giving Sakura her water, he sat down opposite her quietly. Sakura downed the liquid quickly, moistening her dry throat. Putting her glass down, she saw Naruto looking at her. The leaf nin averted his gaze upon being caught. Gomen, I didn't mean to stare. She couldn't help but inwardly smile at his antics. Strengthening her resolve, she decided to speak first. Before you give me an explanation, I wanted to let you know. Her voice broke off, stopping her from finishing. She didn't understand why it was so hard to speak to the hyperactive ninja. Naruto was curious as to what she exactly meant. Know what? Sakura spoke in a whisper, her eyes on the wooden table she was seated at. My feelings. Naruto felt his breath leave him when he heard her response. They had been getting closer ever since his return from his training trip with Jiraiya, and in recent weeks their relationship was escalating to a new level. He felt delighted hearing those words, but knew that it would be harder to tell her. He gave a nod to the kunoichi, who was now looking at him, as a signal to continue elaborating. Sakura stared into his sapphire eyes, speaking in a quiet voice. When I first met you, I always thought you deliberately tried to annoy me. She felt guilty as she spoke but continued. But as we started spending more time together, I began to see who you really were. Everything people said about you, they were wrong. Naruto looked at her with a mix of surprise and sympathy. He had never seen the kunoichi in such a manner. Sakura looked away from Naruto before continuing. That day when you made your promise, do you remember what you said? Right now, you're in pain. A pain I know well. Naruto's words flashed through his mind before he replied. Hi. Sakura spoke softly. I realized that day, how well you really understood me. Naruto looked down, a sweet smile across his face. You don't have to say more. Sakura felt her heart aching as she shook her head. You always tried to help me, but I pushed you away. She felt culpable. The day we became a team, you asked me what I thought of you. I gave you an answer not knowing who you really were, but I'll give you my real reply now. Naruto was shocked by her words as he realized what she meant. She knew that it was him asking her, when he transformed into Sasuke. He looked into her pain-filled eyes. Sakura held back her tears as she spoke. You're kind, thoughtful, loving, you always think about others before yourself. Naruto closed his eyes since he couldn't look at the kunoichi. A feeling of bliss swelled up inside him as she spoke. Sakura smiled. Whenever I'm with you, I forget everything that's bothering me. I feel safe. Naruto rose from his seat at the table, walking over to the window and looking outside to the sky above. He couldn't handle looking at the confessing girl, opting instead to stare at the twinkling stars. Sakura stared at Naruto as he looked outside, continuing, for a long time now, you made me feel something that I had never felt before. I wasn't sure what it was. Naruto felt his eyes begin to water, dreading what she was going to say next. Sakura smiled. But I understand now. She felt the courage build within her. I love you. Naruto felt his heart breaking, knowing that this wouldn't work out. For the first time in the past month, the news of his death hurt him more deeply than he could have imagined. Sakura clasped her hands, putting them in her lap before speaking in a soft, regretful tone. It hurts though, to know I was late. that you don't feel the same way anymore. Her voice became a whisper before she finished. That's all I wanted to say. Naruto calmed himself. My feelings never changed. Sakura looked at him as he turned to face her. His eyes were filled with a deep anguish as he spoke. The circumstances did. Sakura didn't comprehend the meaning of his words. She felt elated at hearing him say that he still felt the same. However, she could feel a weird sensation building within her, attempting to stop her from asking her next question. For some reason, she began to dread the upcoming answer she might receive. She asked with a hint of obvious hesitation, "If you still feel the same, then what does it matter?" Naruto sat back on the windowsill speaking in a composed voice. "That's why it matters." Sakura was confused with his answer as he continued, "When I made that promise, it was because I never wanted to see you like that again, to see you in that much pain. I don't want you to be upset when I leave." Sakura rose from her seat, walking forward so she was only a few feet away from Naruto. "What are you trying to say?" Something was wrong with the way he spoke. She couldn't understand why he would be leaving. Naruto closed his eyes. "You remember when I fought the Yondaime?" Sakura could feel her heart become uneasy, not liking where the Jinchuriki could be heading with this. "Of course, how could I forget?" The hyperactive ninja nodded before speaking once again. "You saw my condition after that." Sakura felt a pain within her being reminded of his fatal state on that night. "Even though I could feel my life slipping away, I saw you, crying as you looked at me. It felt as if I had broken my promise, but I came back, didn't I?" Sakura felt the realness of the day flash through her memories as she struggled to repress a tear. "Naruto, why are you bringing this up?" Naruto opened his eyes as he saw the girl in front of him looking towards the ground. He abandoned his seat on the windowsill, walking forwards, towards her. Bringing his hand to her face, he wiped the solitary tear away. This time, Sakura looked at him. "There's no coming back." That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.